Hey, I've got a question maybe just to get us started. By the way, I think there's a number to text if you've got any questions. Okay.
Yep. We got it.
Give us your job that you have enjoyed the most over the course of your life, the job that you hated the most. Give us just the spectrum of jobs that you have had.
We both work for you, so no pressure.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, there's only one right answer
This job.
for this.
Best job. Oh, gosh. There was a summer in college. I remember I worked at a call center for a credit card company. And
sounds like an awesome job.
It was all you could ever want. And you're just wearing a headset, and there's a beep in your ear every 48 seconds for another call, and you're in a cubicle, and you're like, gosh, Lord, where am I going in life? What is this? Yeah. And just there's the fluorescent lights above you, and you're just having the soul sucked out of you bit by bit. So that'd probably be a job. Yeah, it was. Yeah. So I was glad that was just for the summer.
Yeah. So you went for worst job.
Yeah, I went for worse. Yeah.
Yeah, we already know the best one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Man, funny story now. At the time, it was devastating. But my dream was to walk on as a basketball player at the University of Texas. And I played in junior college and then transferred to Texas to do that. And started working out with the team in August and made it all the way to the first day of practice, which was October 15th. So I did, 2.5, 3 months of working out with the team and thinking, I'm going to be a member of the team. And the first night of official practice, ESPN is at the Frank Irwin Center in Austin. Dick Vitale is in the room. I walk in the locker room and there's nothing in my locker. And they call me out in the hallway and they said, the assistant coach says, hey, Coach Penders isn't going to carry you on the squad this year, but we want to offer you a job as a manager. So if you want it, we need you to put on a polo and khakis and go sit under the basket and wipe up sweat off the floor every time somebody falls down. So rather than going through practice, I sat under the goal for the rest of the season and wiped sweat off the floor.
You were doing laundry.
It was extremely humiliating.
Yeah.
That was my worst job. Work you right there.
Yeah.
No kidding.
It was terrible.
Amen.
Yeah. When I was in high school, I worked for the city of Sulphur. So my kind of bread and butter job was weed eating street corners. But a few days, I was the animal control guy.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
And by the way, if you ever get a moment where you've got Cam Woodall by himself, just ask that story to him.
Is he here right now?
But I did have one day where we got the call. It's in a house that, if it wasn't haunted, I don't know what a haunted house would be. And it was not for a dog, but a snake.
Just quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was that day.
Yeah.
So,
done.
so anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, where are we going?
Okay, all
Let's do
right.
it.
Well, first question, and I think we've got a lot of students in the room, so I think this is applicable to them.
Yeah.
But I also, I experienced a complete 180 in my career at, 45 years old, from being a basketball coach to being a pastor. And so I think we can think, I know all of us at some point feel some discontent. Am I doing what I'm called to do? Am I doing what I am made to do? And so I would say, and Ryan, you could start with this if you want to, how do you pick a vocation?
Yeah, gosh, it's such a big question, isn't it? Especially if you're young and you're thinking about that, or even just a lot of men in this room. The average man or person is going to have 3 to 4 kind of careers in your lifetime. So you're going to have some of those moments where you do pivot, where maybe you think you're going out to play on the basketball court, and instead you're mopping up the floor. So there's just some hard pivots that come all of our ways along our life. One of the things I would say is a lot of times it's much more like a discovery process or a journey rather than having a neat laid out path for you. And I think sometimes, like men, we just have to kind of get used to, you're going to have a little bit of resilience along the way. There's going to be some setbacks. I love that you were highlighting Colossians 3 tonight, work heartily for the Lord. So to take heart, inside your heart, be encouraged that the Lord is with you in that process. Because I do think there is a level of resilience. Sometimes finding what you're made for or what you're going to do in your life, you would never even imagine at 20 what you'd be doing at 40. I'm sure there's a lot of guys in this room, what you're doing at 50 or what you did at 60, you just could never have envisioned yourself doing that at 20. I know that's true for myself. I would not imagine I'd be sitting here at 44 doing what I'm doing right now. Just the Lord has a completely different plan for you. So part of that is being willing to lean into that, having some resilience. Another thing I'd say is choose opportunity over certainty. a lot of times we can kind of wait until there's a clear path that has certainty for us. And you don't get a lot of certainty when it comes to your vocation. Sometimes you just get opportunity, and you're going to have to take some risks. Yeah. You're going to have to step out there in faith. You're going to have to trust the Lord. And you're going to have to apply yourself in a very significant and meaningful way, sometimes long before you see the outcome or the results. So choose opportunity over certainty. And then last thing I'd say is submit yourself into community. Men, we just have this instinct and impulse sometimes where we think we see ourselves rightly, but we're more deluded than we want to admit. Mm-hmm. And when I can surround myself by other men and people in my life that can honestly speak and say, there's some gifts there, there's not some gifts there, there's some things you should lean into, there's some things you should stop doing over there, that makes all the difference in the world. I think a lot of men spin their wheels for sometimes years and years and years because maybe there's just a little too much bravado or insecurity to just stop and ask others, how am I gifted? Who has the Lord made me to be? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times vocation, calling, whatever language you want to attach to that, is a little bit of a mixture of there's an opportunity that presents itself, and that's the providence and the goodness of Lord before you. And there's some gifts that the Lord's given you, and there's a need inside of the world. Yep. And those things begin to intersect as you walk in faithfulness. But as I said before, that faithfulness will start with opportunity a lot of times before certainty. And there's all sorts of tests you can take. We have some we use on our staff, like Working Genius by Patrick Lencioni. That's really helpful to give you a little bit of a grade of some of the work that you might be more gifted or wired to do, which is great. There's a book called 40 Days to the Work You Love. That's a great book, too, just for some of the questions it platforms and asks that it also points you to. But a lot of this is really just a journey with the Lord more than anything else.
Mm-hmm. So true.
Yeah. What would you guys say?
I think you're on it. I do think that, so you guys did a breakout at Enjoy Weekend over this, and y'all spent quite a bit of time on this question of like just discerning your vocation. And one of the things you talked about was you can't steer a parked car.
Yeah.
So why don't you just elaborate on that? Because I think that's a very good thing too. It's typically when anyone around Stonegate is like, how do I serve? How am I gifted to serve? I'm like, well, just start somewhere, and then you kind of figure it out. But
yeah, and that is the thing. Like sometimes we want clarity before obedience, but the Lord asks us for obedience before He gives clarity. And if you're waiting till you can see beyond the horizon or how everything's going to work out before you're going to apply yourself, before you're going to come in early, before you're going to take initiative, you're going to be guaranteed the raise, the promotion, the opportunity before you apply yourself, it's just not going to go well for you. It just doesn't work out that way. And men in general, there is a thing too, you're much more likely to find your destination if you're in motion rather than just I'm a parked car waiting to be told where I'm going to go. Mm-hmm. So if you're just sitting there, I think sometimes we can do that. There's a level of passivity that anxiety can create in every single one of us. We can just sit there and go, okay, once I get the GPS coordinates and that's planned into the dashboard, then I'll go. And once again, it just doesn't work that way. You got to get in motion, and something that's in motion is easier to steer. So I find the Lord, He can steer your life, He can steer my life. Maybe it's a connection you're going to make, it's networking you're going to make, it's a friendship you're going to make, it's an opportunity you're going to be given because you're in motion. Yeah. So you got to get in motion sometimes to find your destination, rather than going, let me just sit as a parked car and wait till God downloads the GPS destination.
Yep. Yeah.
So true.
That's great.
So true.
That's great. Another question, Rod, this one is for you. Just considering the talk that you've given, the theology of work that you have just given, how should teenagers think about what you just said?
Okay, teenagers, are we in the room? Where are we? If you're a teenager, let's say you're 18 or below, will you just stand up in the room?
A few guys, awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
18 and below, come on.
Yeah.
There we go.
Great seeing you guys.
I am so glad you're here if you are 18 and below. You can have a seat there where you are. We won't make you keep standing. But let me just encourage you maybe in two ways. One is you should get to work right now. So don't wait to get to work. You should get to work right now. I'm not saying you have to go get a formal job somewhere, but you should treat something as your job. Yeah. Just find something that you're considering at work. School is probably job one for everyone that's, you're in that world. So you should treat it like a job. Like you're going to do well at it. You're going to show up with your whole heart. You're going to apply yourself. There's job number one. You're probably going to have something outside of school. We kind of have a kind of thing in our parenting where it's like, we want you to pick something to get good at. So let's find a job. So you got school, and now we've got something outside of school. I don't really care what the thing is. It could be an instrument. It could be a sport. I don't care what it is. Let's pick a thing that you can become really, really good at, though. So hopefully it's going to fit kind of your aptitude and giftings and all that you can get good at it. Let's get a job. So we'll find out what are the jobs right now that you can do. And then let's get great at something. And for our kids, tennis is kind of the thing that they've all adopted. And I don't care about tennis. I tell our kids all the time, it's like tennis for me is just the tool. I mean, none of them are probably going to be playing tennis at 30 years old, right? It's like this little season of their life, they're playing tennis. But here's what tennis is doing. It's giving them an avenue to learn how hard it is to get great at anything. And it's hard to get great at things. Caleb here a while back, we were talking about tennis. He's like, oh my gosh, right now it feels like a lot. And I'm like, welcome to getting good at anything. Preaching sometimes feels like a lot. Leading Stonegate sometimes feels like a lot. Like anything you're going to do and do well is going to feel like a lot. And so that's the transferable skill early on. You get a job, you figure out how to be great at it. You should be great at school. Like, it doesn't mean that you're better than everyone else there, but you're as good as you can possibly be. You should find something in your life that you can be really good at and apply yourself to it. So if I were just talking to any of our teenagers, I think that's your application when it comes to this. You can work right now. There are things God has called you to do in your home, at school, with a sport or an instrument or whatever you can get good at. And this is your chance right now to learn how to be great at a thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I coach a high school basketball team now, and we talk about how they're approaching practice. Is building their work ethic.
Yeah.
It's building responsibility. It's building discipline.
Yeah.
As you approach your schoolwork, you're building your intellect, your ability to critical think. Like you are developing yourself into the man God made you to be. I mean, even in high school, middle school even, as you do those things, as you attack your schoolwork, as you attack your extracurriculars as work, you're imaging God.
Yep.
Like that's what you're doing in those instances.
For sure. Let's jump over to you, Brandon, and here's another question that came in. Essentially, I'm going to paraphrase it. I hate my job. What should I do? How would you address that? What kind of things might you want to say?
Are you asking me that because you're assuming that I now hate
that's
my
right.
job?
Yeah, you get a chance to speak from the heart right now, Brandon. So, but I'm struggling in my job. We just had a bunch of guys stand up that are in a season of struggling with their job.
Yeah.
What are some things you might encourage or? Yeah.
Well, I can actually speak to that from experience. When I was here in Dallas, was coaching at a Division II school, and I had already coached at a higher level and then came back to Dallas. I was having some marriage problems. I was trying to save my marriage. I was trying to get a master's degree. And I thought I would be there like 1 or 2 years, and I ended up being there 10 years. And in that very first year, I went through a divorce. My custody arrangement for my daughter, I had to stay in Ellis County, so I was here in Dallas. And just being real, being honest, it was a really hard 10 years. I enjoyed coaching, but I didn't enjoy coaching there. I felt like my opportunities to grow were limited. I thought my opportunities to advance were limited. I thought they were none. I couldn't move. And I had a job that was like, there's not just a million of them out there. You can't just go apply there's just not that many job openings.
Especially in Ellis County.
Yeah, in Ellis County. I just felt stuck. And honestly, I was miserable. And I remember my wife felt it, because I'd come home and I wasn't happy and I was ultra critical of the man that I worked for, and I love him. He's a dear friend and he does an amazing job. I mean, they went to the Final Four last year at DBU. But I was miserable. And one of the things now that I can look back and see, and this is to encourage anybody that's in that place of like, I'm just really miserable in my job. The best way I can describe it is the Lord had me in the oven. And like there were things that I needed to learn when I was on that job that I needed for the Lord to put into me so that I could do what I'm doing now. And so for 10 years, I stayed here in Dallas at that job whining and complaining and miserable at times. And when you think about your own situation, it's like, I'm in a job that I hate. Should I just find another one? And about year 7 into it, I decided I should just find another one. Like, forget the custody arrangement. I'm just gonna try to find another job. And so I applied to several, and I got offered one. And I remember I even came and met with Rodney and Travis, and I was like, I'm in this dilemma. Like, do I stay here and be miserable, but be a great dad to my daughter, because the custody, she was with me for a week and then she was with her mom for a week. Do I do that, or do I just go? And I think the answer to that is obvious. Stay here, be a dad to your daughter. That's the number one priority. So the door for me to leave wasn't really open. You know what I mean? But there's other illustrations where it's like you don't have that constraint. It's like, yeah, go ahead and look for another job, you know? So for the what should I do, I think it's totally dependent on your situation. But I can say this, just to encourage you guys. 10 years, I was having a hard time. On December the 25th of 2015, my daughter came to me and said, I'm going to live with Mom full time. Mom had also 6 months before left Ellis County and just moved to Houston. So my daughter was living with me full time. That was obviously heartbreaking. And really, it was on Christmas Day. It was a really, really rough day. And she left that night and moved in with her mom in Houston. But I had for 10 years suffered in Dallas. And for the first time, I actually had the opportunity to do something about my job situation and find something else. 3 days later, East Texas Baptist University called me and offered me their head coaching job in the middle of our basketball season. And I ended up going there the next year and being the head coach there for 4 years. And the Lord, honestly delivered me out of a really tough situation. And so I think I say that to tell you, the Lord knows exactly where you are and exactly the job that you're in. And He's doing something. He has you here at Stonegate. He has you in the community group that you're in. He has you in the job that you're in. And He's doing something in you. He's making you more like Jesus so that you can accomplish His purposes in the world for whenever He's ready to move you on.
Yeah, so
Amen.
true.
Yeah.
There's probably, we could probably keep going on that. There's so much to the complexity of those situations. There's so many questions and so little time.
A lot.
To,
Right.
do it. So we better go rapid fire.
Okay.
Okay.
Where do you want to go next?
Let's go work-life balance. How do you balance work and life to have a godly marriage? And this particular person says, I feel like I can see major financial reasons for working a lot of overtime, working extra jobs, working side gigs to help my family, but my wife feels like I don't need to be doing all of those things. How do I decide how much do I need to provide for the family and work extra, and how much do I need to be home with my kids and my wife?
You know, a couple thoughts. And some of this is situational, and I think it's seasonal. So I wish I knew those details of the circumstances you're in. And some of those are even just the goals of your family. So I do think there is a seasonality to vocation as well. When you're young, you are making an investment in your vocation. And as Rodney was saying, getting great at something. Malcolm Gladwell writes a ton about it. It takes about 10,000 hours to become an expert pretty much on anything. So you're going to have to invest heavily. It's going to be a heavy time commitment. That's what education is. It's an investment in your future. So for a lot of men, when you're in your 20s, those are the years where you're sowing into your competency so that later on there can be a harvest that comes from it. And so I would say that there is that reality. If you're a young man, I would encourage you actually to take on a heavier load during that season of your life, because I think it pays greater dividends later on in your life so that you can have that balance as your family matures and your kids get older and all those things along the way. It's a lot like investments. If you invest earlier, as we all know, in your 20s, it has a greater time period to compound for you. Same goes with your competencies and your skill sets along the way. So what are the goals of your family? What are the needs of your family? What's the season of your vocation that you're in? But I would say a lot of this is a heart motivation too. If your wife is saying to you, like, we need more of you and we don't need more of stuff, like, you should be willing to listen to that. You should be like, is there something driving me? Mm-hmm. Is there an unhealthy level of just whether it's materialism or accomplishment or ambition where I am not choosing the better portion, which is my family? So you should be, that should at least be a yellow flag if your wife's asking those questions. And then there's those questions of what's the season of life you find yourself in.
Yep.
That's not rapid fire, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's good.
There is a question here on retirement. What should people do? Well, let me just point out a funny question. Somebody out there asked, how in the world do you get biceps like Ryan Kearns? And the only thing I can tell you is steroids. I don't know what else to say.
We don't do drug tests at Stonegate for employment, so that's right.
But here's another question is, what should people do when they retire? And I'll just give a quick take on that. I think you should give yourself to the mission of Jesus. Mm-hmm. It's going to be very similar to how Paul talks in 1 Corinthians 7 when it's, what do you do if you're single? Well, if you don't have the constraints of married life and all the things that come around, how do I serve my wife? You can give yourself with undistracted devotion to the things of the Lord. And I think it's a very similar logic in retirement. If you don't have to go someplace and work 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, whatever the thing is for the job, you don't have to do that anymore. Now you can say, how would I leverage my life for kingdom things? Mm-hmm. So that probably starts inside of your church, and it starts with ministries that are going to be doing good in the world. And you're just looking around and saying, how in the world can I get my life intertwined with these things? I'm not giving in to leisure. My designer life is not no work, because if that's my designer life, I am going to wither. So I'm not doing that. I'm giving myself to the work of Jesus. My dad retired several years ago. He owned his own business there in our hometown. And I've been so proud of his retirement years. He's busier than he's ever been, and he is investing in young people. He meets with 3 or 4 or 5 people a week, just giving his life to them. He serves the church there in our city. So he's just giving his life to kingdom things. I would just so implore you to stay in the mission. To make sure you're giving your life to the things that Jesus wants.
There's a book called Retiring Well. I've given it to a handful of guys around here that are at that juncture in life. I'd recommend that. If you're at that moment, I think it's a great book on the topic. And we have a whole host of guys that make that kind of investment in Stonegate. I'm looking at Steve right over here. I don't know if Scott Royce is here. He does a ton with helping people with financial ministry around Stonegate. Ron, who was up here earlier, there's just so many guys that are spending those years making a huge contribution for the kingdom of God.
Yeah. One of the things that I learned while I was in that kind of struggle for that 10-year period, that's the first time in my life I ever started leading a community group and ministering to, in that particular group, it was a lot of really hard marriages. And it was like, I always thought the meaning of my life was, becoming a Division I head basketball coach and being independently wealthy so that I didn't have to work anymore. But when I started leading a group and investing in all those, it was like all of a sudden my work became secondary to loving and helping others know Jesus and see Jesus in the middle of their marriage. And it just kind of changed my perspective, and it gave me a little bit more tolerance for a job that I didn't love. But it's that idea of, even if you've got work that's not as meaningful, that you don't feel is as meaningful, same in retirement, giving your life over to ministry. We can do that even as we're working another job. Yep. So that was super helpful.
Ryan, I didn't really get to address this, but if you were just going to give a quick encouragement on, here's the question. How do you free yourself to bring glory to the Lord in work when work has become your identity? Mm-hmm. So if a person is just realizing there's something off in me in how I am running to work, I'm getting more out of work than work is supposed to give me.
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
Well, one, I do think, I want to encourage a lot of men in here, like ambition is a good thing, rightly ordered. There's a book called Rescuing Ambition that I think properly places ambition in the life of Christians. I think it's by Dave Harvey. Great book on that. In fact, I think some Christian men could use a little bit more ambition. Like, it is good to strive and to want to succeed and to build things and to contribute and to make an impact. Like, you should go after it. Like, do wonderful in the marketplace. We need more men doing that. But I think if you are not able to separate that identity from being, first and foremost, a child of God, a son of God, there's a problem there. So you're going to have to find environments where people are not impressed by you and people are also not dependent upon you for their own income. So you're just going to have to find other environments to put yourself in where people, maybe you're just going to be able to treat you not as someone who's super successful in your industry or your field or the marketplace, but people are just going to relate to you as a child of God. one of the things that I think is good in a Sabbath or having a period away from work or time away from work is you get an opportunity to take off of that identity and say, can I be satisfied? Can I be content? Is it enough if I'm just a child of God? Because that's not a just statement, is it? Like, that's everything right there, that I'm loved by God, that God has rescued me, that I'll have forever with God, that God's chosen me, that God loves me. That should captivate your heart. And I think inside of that, if that's not enough and you're going, man, if my job shaked, if my job fell apart, I would fall apart, that's a good indication that your job might be too loud of a thing and too much of your identity along the way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, a Sabbath would be a great place to start, if that's you, of like forcing yourself to take a day where you stop accomplishing and producing. There is a reason God built that rhythm of 6 and 1 in. We get the gift of a Sabbath on our staff, and I'm so grateful for it. And one of my primary things that I'm doing in that time away is asking the question, do I need that job in ways that are unhealthy? Do I get just to love the job and be grateful for the job, or is there something in me that needs it? And one of the things I just loved about this go around is like, I love it, but I don't feel like I need it. I get to come here and serve these people and do everything I can to give my heart to them without having an unhealthy attachment to it. And that's so much of what a Sabbath is meant to do, is to give us space to work out some of those types of questions. So